Hello and welcome to Between the Lines. My name is Urszula Gacek and my guest today is Andrzej Antoń, one of Poland's leading visionary entrepreneurs in the Fintech sector in digital cashless payments. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation.
You know what the first question is obviously going to be. Can you envisage a future without physical money, without notes and coins in our wallets?
This is something we are working on every day. This is something we are focusing every day. And the future, if you want to predict the future, you need to always look into the past. So even on high-tech technology, you need to not only imagine the future, but you need also to predict behavior of individual clients. So whatever innovation is coming to the market, you need to make sure that someone loves it and would like to use it, to test it. And usually, in the beginning, there is no real interest. There is some questions, why should I use it? Is it safe? Is digital money, in this example, something I need? Why we don't use cash all the time? So there is a lot of arguments against digital money, as well as a lot of arguments what they can provide for the future, for faster money flow, safer money flow. And we at our company, we are working constantly to deliver the fastest possible way of moving value.
So moving that money, but in terms of the Polish market, now cashless transactions actually make up, if I'm not mistaken, probably now 2/3, 3/4 of transactions. Of course, the explosion in e-commerce has made a large contribution to that. But if we actually look at when people are physically in a shop and a point of sale, that is also now around 1/3 of all transactions are made without any physical money changing hands. In the next 5 years or so, how do you see those statistics moving?
Let's look at the statistic in Poland. So first
Today,
point,
yes.
Today, we are looking at this evolution from the last 10 years. And 15 years ago, we invented Blue Cash instant payment systems. 12 years ago, Blik came into the life, and I remember the first transactions.
This is, for non-Polish viewers, this is a very fast transfer of money,
this is instant
transfer.
Payment system usually used in e-commerce and digital payments. And I remember the first transactions on Blik. And currently, we are 12 years later, we've got 70% of the e-commerce market is done by Blik in our home country in Poland.
Yes, I mean, I remember when you actually had to physically key in an account number to make an electronic transfer. I remember when people were still writing physical checks to transfer money without currency. And now it's unimaginable. You have a 6-figure code, you type it in, you can send it by telephone, and the recipient has that money instantaneously. So convenience, of course, is key here.
Yeah. In the meantime, we've been also using pay by links. So if you've got bank account in any Polish bank, you could use it. But Blik finally get more traction, and people love Blik today. And Blik is also growing on the physical payments. So this direct comparison to cash. If you go to the shop, you can pay by your card, which is usually the case. Then you can pay by Blik, giving this number, or you can still, of course, use cash.
You can also pay by a virtual card that's in your mobile telephone. So actually the plethora of options that you have is substantial. And that's fantastic for people who are digitally savvy, who are aware, who like this kind of technology, a younger demographic. I'm not excluding an older demographic. But what about the people who are not comfortable because they just don't know how to use the technology, they fear the technology? If we progress with using more and more cashless payments, and in some countries now that I visited, you will see, I remember in the past, sometimes in a shop you would see cash only, but now you see signs saying no cash, which actually means that it's not a question of convenience, but if you are not in that system, you are actually excluded. So as an industry, what are you doing to make those technologies accessible to people for whom even typing in a 4-digit code seems a little bit scary?
It's a great question, and let's go back to the future. And we are testing the solution for using your hand as a payment method. So it's actually both for high-tech users who love the innovation, and at the same time, you can use it as someone who doesn't like technology, doesn't like innovation, and especially on the digital side. So you can use your hand in both segments. So we are testing this solution outside of Europe, also in Poland, and we see traction around the world. You can see in China, this is something which is like maybe not revolution, but evolutionary. So it's the next payment method. You can use your face in the public to pay for things, but we believe hands is better because we've been always using our hands, whatever it was, shells, gold, money, or even phone, we are still using our hand, and we are not using faces. So we strongly believe the future, maybe not tomorrow, or maybe not in 1 year, but looking from today into 10 years perspective, I believe biometric payment will be one of the methods both for people who love technology and those who they don't want to touch any phone or any other device.
Let me play devil's advocate then, okay? So today, biometric data will be held, for example, by the ministry that issues me with my passport. I have biometric data there. If I have a police file, which I don't, there would be biometric data there. But now you're asking me to give you my biometric data, my face, my fingerprints. How can you reassure me that that will not be used in any other way than to actually facilitate that very convenient and instant payment?
That's a great question, and especially in the world where artificial intelligence is everywhere, it's really tricky to use especially face, because it can easily be copied and used in other cases. But it's not the case with hand. It's not easy to copy your hand because this is the first point.
So it's not just a fingerprint,
It's not
it is your whole
fingerprint.
palm.
It's the whole part, the whole
all
hand.
your fingers, all the lines
yes.
on your hand as well.
And the technology we are using is scanning your veins inside and make sure that it's not damaged or it's living. So it's really safe. And we believe this
so
is...
I couldn't have some kind of silicon glove
No, it's
shaped like somebody, like your hand. That would be a very useful hand to have, actually.
It's impossible. It's impossible. And we've got many cases, so the hand can be used not only as money, but also as a ticket. So you can enter venues. It can be used as a loyalty program, so you don't need to have any card, any phone. You just use your hand, and it's all about freedom. And on the privacy side, you've got an app, your private app, and you can delete anytime your scan, and it's your choice if you want to be free or you want to be safe. You know, there are both ways to look at the same problem. And my kids, for example, they are using it in our test environment. They love it. And maybe some people currently on the market, because this is all about innovation curve. Usually in the start you've got only tech-savvy people who are ready for any innovation, and before you go to the top, it's like 7 years. And then you've got the mass market who are just...
Can I ask, you mentioned your children, can I ask how old they are?
It's 14, 13 and 8 years.
8 years, so your 8-year-old. So it takes me to an interesting question for me. Your children probably, I mean, with a father like you, I can imagine that they are growing up in a very unique environment. But in fact, most of their peers will also now, even for pocket money, for allowances, for gifts, they're not getting, the notes in their birthday or Christmas card from their grandparents. They're increasingly getting an electronic transfer. Some would say that children don't understand money anymore. They don't understand the value of money. They don't understand budgeting. And we also have a growing market of very easy deferred payments. It's almost, you can very easily get a very small credit line, but you can build up numerous credit lines. Do you think that we run the risk of raising kids who just do not understand how to manage money and its real value?
It's a broader question. I can tell about my family. So my family, we are building an environment where we are playing game of paying kids for doing some work. For example, unloading the dishwasher. It's easy, and they are trying to be the first who is making the money. Of course, sometimes they forget, and I'm the one who's, or my wife. But this is the way how we, instead of giving them money every week or every month, we are paying them for some work. This is the first point.
But you're actually topping up their electronic wallets?
Actually, we are not giving cash. We are making register, and finally we are sending money to Blik or to the card. They've got cards as well. But the problem is with kids, it's the trend everywhere, and it's connected with phone in general.
Yes.
There are schools which are already started to forbid coming with phones inside, because it's actually proved, scientifically proved, that phone is making a lot of disturbance, and you cannot concentrate.
But now they're moneyless because they don't have their telephone. So how are they going to pay in their shop? Yes.
In the future, that's why I'm talking about hand, because you don't need, you are using high technology, but you don't need to have any device with you. So there are schools with this politics, no phone allowed, and there are examples in the world where children are coming to school without phone, without cash, and they are using only hands. To enter the school, and the parents are informed.
So in fact, it gets rid of the problem of kids being distracted by telephones.
Especially social media. This is the worldwide problem. And
that's very interesting. So kids will manage, but we will manage. I mean, I think in Poland recently, most of us have received through our letterboxes how to plan for emergencies, with our emergency survival kits. And there is the guidance now to have ready cash available. And it's not just a question of, God forbid, possible war, but we've seen major power outages, we've seen floods, we've seen hacker attacks where banking systems have failed, power outages have knocked out grids, internet connections have collapsed. Are there any cashless ways we could protect ourselves in such crisis situation, or will physical money always have a role in crisis situations?
There are some projects worldwide made by and provide to the public in test form from central banks. This is project called, for example, CBDC, so central bank digital currency. The test proved that people don't like it. The money you could use in digital form almost in any cases, even if the device, even if you don't have electricity, so it's offline or there is no internet, you could use this digital money as a gold. So you can actually send this to the merchant for simple purchases.
So you could use it like a Bluetooth connection, for example, or maybe not even that.
Close
Providing
to that.
your battery still has some juice.
Close to that. You
Yes.
don't need to internet to send this value to the merchant, but it doesn't fly, so people don't like it. And there are some projects how to replace the cash completely, and I think, looking at the innovation curve again, the cash will be with us for a longer time, and I think the cash will not disappear in next 10, 20 years completely, because there will be still people on the market looking for this solution, especially in the crisis situation. You can have some money with you as a backup, and we are not ready yet, to be honest, on digital environment to provide this easily replacement.
So that the cash is not dead yet. Let's talk about the dangers of misusing systems. In the past, somebody could snatch your wallet, grab your purse, and you would be, whatever was in whatever you physically carried, you would lose that. But now you potentially, because of the electronic transfer of money, you can lose your entire life savings because of fraud, because of scammers. Of course, at the European level, there are also numerous safeguards, but these people, these scammers, they're always one step ahead. As an industry, not only are you providing, of course, safeguards in the digital space, things we, I'm sure, don't know about and are very technical, but do you also see your role as educating your clients on how to protect themselves? Because sometimes we find ourselves very vulnerable because we are just simply not knowledgeable and very gullible quite often to this kind of fraud online, especially with payments.
We are working on this subject for all my professional life, so the fraud was always with us. I mean, all the banks, all the payment companies are constantly dealing with this problem. And the systems which are deployed behind the interfaces you see as the customer are huge. There is a lot of different layers of security deployed. And even now we are using artificial intelligence to find unusual behavior when paying. And in our case, when we look at the numbers, we don't see the fraud is minimal. The fraud is minimal, but we know the clients, we know their behavior, so we know what to expect. For example, in bill payment, we are the leader in our country. There is no sense to steal someone's identity or money to pay the bills in this case. So banks are investing a lot in education, and the new ways of crime on digital side are appearing every day, even not digital. You probably notice in media how many stories are around the fraud, but on the other side we are fighting every day to provide the safest possible way, which are still convenient to use. Otherwise, it makes no sense if the system is super safe, but you cannot use it.
Tell me about the Polish market. We touched on very beginning about how many people are using cashless payments. Where does Poland stand in terms of usage, in terms of the technologies? We've mentioned a couple of very typical Polish solutions. How do we rank in terms of other developed countries? And I asked this as a personal aside. A couple of years ago, a friend from the United Kingdom who was coming to Poland asked me whether she would be able to use her credit card here, which shocked me profoundly, because that might be the perception that somebody has, that Poland might still have a problem with a physical credit card when we are far, far ahead of that. So where do we stand in that ranking, and what have we got to be proud of?
So again, let's go back to the future to answer this question. The Polish market is different than most of the countries in the world. we as a company provided system for direct payment from bank account 20 years ago, and it was innovation on the global scale. And people started to use it as a normal way of payment before BLIK. And I think this is one of the reasons why we are not used to pay on the internet by card networks.
And checks never
Checks
never took off in Poland.
Never started to fly.
Yeah.
And then our Polish system BLIK came into life, and the education made on the clients that you can directly pay from bank account to the merchant was natural way to sending money. So currently, almost 80%, 85 currently, on e-commerce is done on direct bank account to bank account. There is no card in this scheme. So American companies, Visa and MasterCard, which are present everywhere, they don't have huge share in digital market in Poland. Mm-hmm. And we are one of the 10 markets in the world which are such developed. Because I personally believe that the world will be transforming in this way, that every country will have national payment scheme. Mm-hmm. We cannot rely as a country on any other country provided critical
this
system.
This is also a matter of security,
this is
critical
this
infrastructure.
Is about security, independence, and I'm not expert on geopolitics, I'm expert on payments. But from my perspective, every single country should have their own systems, and we are specializing to provide these systems. And this is something as a part of evolution coming for the global markets. And going back to Poland, Poland is super developed. It's maybe not well known, but we are in line with top countries regarding. We can compare with China, we can compare with Taiwan, Japan, Germany as behind
us. They're below us. And where does the United States rank?
It's below us.
Below us.
They don't accept this type of innovation. Even our
and that
friendly
is really
country,
surprising,
Germany,
because we always see them as a beacon of high tech.
Yeah.
And yet here we have a story where Polish technology and Polish customers accepting a new technology actually is an example for others to follow.
That's actually true. And Germany, I love Europe. I love every country in Europe. And Germany, our friends, we are developing our services as well, but they love cash. Japan loves cash. And United States is probably on the way to jump directly into digital money in the new form. They are open for all the tokenized payments, crypto payments, which is actually not the case in Poland. We are here, we've got 3 million people using cryptocurrencies, but this is not regulated yet. So this is something we are also
and that I think is a topic for another conversation.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for joining me today on Between the Lines and telling us that maybe there is a hybrid solution to this, but for the sake of security and for the sake of convenience, the future is, in many ways, cashless. Thank you very much,
Thank you very much,
Mr. Anton, for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.